What's up everyone, I'm Twisted and yesterday we got the color story for Hwei. And some of you might be confused by this, you might be asking, wasn't Riot moving away from color stories? And well, that is technically right. In the last update that we got, Riot Meddler and Riot Brightmoon did confirm that the team was moving away from short stories in favor of other forms of storytelling. Obviously, they are referring to cinematics or even in-client experiences like the ones that we got for Nefiri and Briar. However, before we got that update, Riot Lexi did mention that they weren't moving away from color stories forever. So now we know that the reason Hwei didn't get a cinematic or any other experience was because he was getting a color story, or maybe he is getting a color story because he couldn't get a trailer or cinematic or something like that, right? It's really sad that these are now mutually exclusive. With this being said, let's dive into Hwei's new story, Paintings Framed in Half-Light by Isa Marie de Leon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Visions pour in, no mercy from my mind tonight. I stand in a glade and imagine it drowning in sights unreal. Grass melts, rocks swirled into twisted faces, leaves turn to liquid and drip down branches, bleeding into pools. The moon is a closed eye. Brush in hand, my ethereal palette emerges. Memories resurface. I repaint, relive. These are some really cool artworks. I assume he is reliving the event from his bio, Jin blowing up the temple. A man burned before me in his armory. Around us sweltered a painted fire with flames the color of daybreak. Its golden core beat with pain, with every wound his weapon had ever inflicted. The blaze climbed the walls, but did not catch, shedding neither ash nor smoke, and spreading only as far as I willed it. Yet it flared more violently than any real fire. The man writhed, his senses scorched deeper than bone. He reached toward a weapon rack lined with serrated carves, Noxian steel with Kashuri handiwork. Kashuri, the thought arises, still far, each step further from Koyan. These blades were used to maim and kill. He caused suffering. He deserved to suffer. Alright, so Hwei, he's using his powers over his magical paint to make this man feel like he's on fire. I think that's what the story is telling. And he's doing this by tapping into visions and memories of stuff that he himself has seen or experienced. We also have a reference to Kashuri, which I believe are the ones that are employing Jin at the moment, rendering the flames of a forge. I drew answers out of him. Who he worked with, for how long, why. His fury strained through every grasp, my painting thrashed in his eyes, mirroring every drop of wrath. To make it stop, he offered everything, money, arms, revenge by his hand, but the only thing I care about was this moment between us. Every vision that burned me became his burden. The fire surged from my imagination into his, lightening the weight of my mind. Yeah, this was what I was mentioning, right? He's manifesting like feelings and stuff that he himself experienced into this other person in order to make them suffer. I kept my art from destroying him. We both now live with the marks of this, but while he chokes within flashbacks of the inferno, I survive in it. The tile pulls me away. I repaint, relive, right? Another cool artwork. So we got Disaster, and I assume now we are getting Serenity. A woman ferried me across troubled waters. Around us, a golden drawn breeze, dappled lights with specks of lantern bugs. We sat across from each other. Gulfweed clambered from the surf and gripped the oars. Water lilies grew from the wellspring of my mind. An offering, I shaped them. The Gulfweed took the painted blossoms instead, prying them apart. The woman's hands found rhythm. The course was not always like this, she said. She had been forced to carry marauders, arms runners, assassins, all with dark intent that seeped into the channel, which grew sick with chop and murk. In her voice, a deep stained guilt. I listened. I gathered color from my palette and matched the sweeps of her oars, creating lilies and life anew. Carps in the plums and oranges of sunset. I inspired her to recall kind memories from beneath layers of pain. Everything that burned her became my burden. The canal turned from lashing the pieces within itself to cradling them. The lines of the woman's eyes furled with gentle joy. Somewhere in our minds, birds sang. Her steady thoughts, steady hands brought us to safer shores. There's light to what lives in my mind, and I can choose to paint that way. But light always casts a shadow. I repaint, relive. Alright, we've seen this artwork before, and now I'm expecting Hwei to manifest torment. An artist stood beside me in a Koyan studio. Around us, inky blackness, broken by candlelight. Far below an open window, the ocean, a violet gorge with sea foam for teeth, consuming itself over and over. The temple of Hwei stood for what would become its last night. All things must end, said Jin. He watched the candle burning. I looked to the tide. I hope you enjoyed your time here, I said. He was still as death. What does a wave feel for the rock upon which it crashes? Everything, I thought. Nature is emotional, capricious, and harmonious. Nothing, I said, shrugging. You feel more for Hwei than that, surely. This place showed me all I desired to see, Jin said, except one final piece. He turned toward me, and I him, which is your painting, Hwei, the truth of it. I know forced performances, and you've always hidden something. I'd like to know what. My eyes widened. What color they were then, I couldn't tell. What Jin found churning within, I dreaded. Alright, so this is a reference to the fact that Hwei's eyes change color depending on what he's feeling. So, in other words, he wasn't sure what he was feeling at the time. And I think this is recalling the final night before Jin blew up the temple, right? What do you mean? I said. I'm true to myself. An eye opens on my canvas, searching for anything from Jin. Some envy, resentment, passion, sorrow, any feeling to explain him. When we meet again, I'll greet him like before, eat together, watch as he shifts in a new light. Ask, why Hwei? Why me? And I'll paint what I know of him, returning life to his murders, putting colors back on agonized faces, surrounding us with a darkness so bright it becomes blinding, and so blinding it becomes freeing. Alright, so we knew that Hwei wasn't really looking for revenge from Jin, he's looking for answers, right? He wants to know why Jin did what he did. Art saves me, yet it can shatter me. Sometimes I think I'm already lost. No, Jin said, you're not. I remember how he convinced me to reveal my art. But I still paint arms to hold my past self back, eyes to glower, mouths to scream. At the same time, the arms push, the eyes behold, the mouths goad. In past and present, I lift the brush. Alright, and now we have this final illustration, which doesn't really tie to any of Hwei's subjects. If anything, this looks a bit more like his ultimate ability, but we can see that the paint is dripping off the walls or the world around him. I wonder what's the symbolism here. I finished tonight's paintings. Around me, black and gold. Fractures of earth, light emitting from the chasms, songbirds in gilt cages, the infinity of an eye, straining with full veins, the moon witnesses, blot everything beneath it, Hwei, Jin, and I'm still left with myself. The vision erupts. In its place, the forest is just a forest, holding itself together. Tears draw down my face, my palate dissipates. Awake, I dream of my next piece. I'm happy that we got a color story. As expected, most color stories don't really expand much on the world or the narrative. They are more like windows to what the champion actually is, how they think, how they act in relation to others. So I think in that regard, this is a very, very interesting story because it's told from the perspective of Hwei, and we get to know how he thinks. For example, we get a pretty solid confirmation that he isn't really looking to get some revenge out of Jin. He's more like curious as to what Jin saw in him and Hwei. If I had to guess, I think Jin went to Hwei to do some job that he was ordered to do, but he found Hwei, and obviously in Hwei he saw someone who saw the world in a way similar to Jin himself, right? And obviously with that he saw an opportunity to intervene and maybe create someone who could rival him. I think that was Jin's plan. Also, something interesting that I saw on Twitter, I couldn't find the tweet, but if I do find it, I'll put it on the screen, is that someone realized that there is a connection between Hwei's biography and Jin's color story, and it's the fact that the town in Hwei where the temple is located is described as a quaint mill town, and in Jin's color story we got a reference to another mill town, this one being where Jin first tested the guns that he got from the Kashuri, which is really cool. It's one of those things that it doesn't really matter to the stories that you are reading. Like, you could read Jin's color story or you could read Hwei's biography separate from each other or even together, and you don't need this detail for either of them to make sense. But when you do notice these little references and details, it makes it so much more satisfying as a reader, as someone that is consuming this media. It's just really cool. I really like this type of stuff. But yeah, this was Hwei's color story. As I mentioned, the goal of color stories is not ever to really push the story forward or to introduce new plot lines or stuff like that. These are mostly just windows to what the champion is, what they do, how they think, how they interact with others. And with this story, we got a little more insight on how Hwei sees the world, how he uses his powers to punish those who did wrong things or even calm down those who have suffered, right? Which are two things we knew he did from his biography, from his champion insights, but here we are actually seeing him doing those things, right? And we even got a bit more insight on his interaction with Jin, right? That's something that I criticized in my video of Hwei's lore. His connection with Jin is really interesting, what we got from it in his bio, but it's not enough to show us what he actually is, right? What Hwei is as a character, as a person, because we never actually see him interacting or talking with Jin in his biography. But this story showed us that, and this is why I think color stories shouldn't go away, because they are very crucial to us as readers, as people who enjoy the lore and enjoy these characters. They are really crucial to show us what the characters are actually like, right? And that's the whole point of the world. You might like how magic works in Runeterra, you might like the factions, you might like aspects about the world, but what we actually do care about in the end are the characters, right? They make the world, in my opinion. But yeah, this was Hwei's color story. Let me know down below if you enjoyed it, and also let me know what do you think about color stories not being that common anymore. Do you prefer the cinematics like we got with Nefiri, or do you prefer color stories like this? Or are you someone like me who wishes we still had both? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.